Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of O365Eh. Today's topic is the end of life of mainstream support for Lync Phone Edition, Lync Server 2013, and Office 2013. So the mainstream support ended for those particular products as of April 10, 2018. So, Kurt,
Yeah, so mainstream support ended. Extended support is available for both Lync Server 2013, Office 2013, and Lync Phone Edition. It's important to remember, though, extended support requires an enterprise agreement, and it's paid. So if you don't have the extended support, I believe you still get security updates at no cost, but you needed the extended support to get any bug fixes, any issues that come up with the product, you'll be covered. So that's important to note for planning purposes. And also, it's one interesting thing about this Lync Phone Edition announcement too. For those who go to the Microsoft release on it, it's in the Microsoft tech community. It's in an article, a revised article. It's not a net new one, and it's under the certified phones for Skype for Business Online. So if you're looking for it, there's an update to that article. It's not a net new article. But when I first heard about this, I guess one of the biggest questions I had is, there's enough Lync Phone Edition devices out there. Why can't Microsoft fix it? So do you know any insight into that?
Yeah, so I mean, the short and simple answer is that, Windows CE or compact embedded for the long form, it doesn't support TLS 1.2, and I guess Microsoft has tried to figure out how to make that work, but it just simply will not work on Windows compact embedded or CE edition. So you got to understand this came out in July of 2006, July of 2007, I'd say. So we're talking about an OS that's over 10 years old. So unfortunately, there's just nothing they can do on that front. So I guess let's next talk about what are some of the devices that are impacted as a result of this. Maybe Mike can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably hundreds or thousands and thousands of these devices still out there. They're pretty solid. We have the Polycom CX600, which was kind of my favorite, the CX3000, which was a conference phone, Starfish. There's the Astra and Mitel 6525 and the 6721. And then there's two models on the HP side, which were built by Snom, the 4410 and the 4120. And yeah, all these and there's the Polycom CX500 as well. But all these devices were built on that Windows CE. And it's it's probably not a coincidence, but Windows CE also went end of life on April 10th, 2018 as well. So kind of coincide with the Lync Phone Edition.
Yeah, I guess in addition, in our previous session, where we talked about TLS, 1.0 and 1.1, where, Microsoft is deprecating those, technologies with Office 365. So we wanted to talk about maybe, some of the on-prem configurations, so that, as of October 31st of this year, any of these Lync Phone Edition devices or endpoints won't be able to communicate with or sign into Office 365. However, you still can with any implementation that you have. You understand that, there is a risk to having these protocols, TLS 1.0 and 1.1 still enabled in your or on your Skype servers, whether that be the front end or the edge servers, right? And so, in addition to that, any integration with your Exchange Unified Messaging, so your Exchange servers themselves, or the servers that have the roles on them, will also need to have these protocols TLS 1.0 and 1.1 enabled so that the Lync Phone Edition devices can still communicate with them, get your calendar, download your calendar to the phone, the message waiting indicator, etc. So, in addition to that, if you're using an on-prem Skype for Business or Lync server deployment and you're utilizing Exchange with Office 365, there are things that are going to break with that communication, right? So we know for sure that the calendar won't work, and the message waiting indicator will also not be available with the phone. So you still will be able to sign into the Lync Phone Edition device using an on-prem server with the 1.0, 1.1 protocol still enabled. But you won't be able to get any of the extended feature set from the Exchange perspective online. So, and then I guess maybe the other thing, if you guys want to quickly talk about is, so the mainstream support for Lync Server 2013. What's going to be the impact of that, and what do you see from a customer perspective where their migration is going to be? Do you think that they're going to be moving to a Skype on-prem, or maybe Skype in the cloud, or maybe even moving to Teams? I don't know. Anybody wants to comment on that?
Well, obviously, there's a move to the cloud, and I think depends if the organization has any roadblockers to doing that. Maybe they have an investment in voice on-prem, or they have some custom applications that can't move into the cloud. But barring that, you do see a lot of customers adopting Skype for Business Online. They'll typically go hybrid first, so that'd be a logical choice. And then, of course, there's Teams, right? I think Microsoft would really, it's obviously their stated future direction for communication in the cloud is Teams. And, Teams is rapidly maturing, and maybe for some organizations that makes sense.
Yeah, and what I see is, if you're talking about that Lync 2010 and 2013 environments that are still out there, usually those are the environments that, the IT is not, maybe that's not their skill set, or maybe the people that were deployed that or managed that are no longer around. And so I've seen those environments be actually ripped out, and they're flipping right to Skype for Business Online. I think the client is not much of a change for the end user. I think jumping right to Teams is a hard pill to swallow for someone that's still using the Lync 2010 client or the 2013 client. That has a steep learning curve, but after you start using Teams, you kind of fall in love with it.
Yeah, to echo the same. I mean, I've been in talks with a few of those customers, and they've just sort of, for whatever variety of reasons, have left Lync 2013 and Lync 2010 and in place, and a lot of them are now making the mad scramble to kind of plan for and properly, engage with partners to help them move to the cloud. But they're not quite ready for Teams yet, but they're going to just simply move to online, which will play well to eventually migrating to Teams. So there you go.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe a bit of a crossroad of where to decide if you're, now that we're knowing that the Lync Phone Edition, they're not going to be able to sign in. At this point, what endpoint do they select, right? Do they start going or looking towards the endpoints that are more geared towards Teams, or continue working with Skype for Business Online and maybe moving those to Teams?
Yeah. A couple important notes too, and maybe covered this to be, but this support for TLS 1.2 that we're talking about, this comes into effect October 31st of this year, 2018, right? And I think we're talking about, well, hey, does this just affect online or on-prem? And of course, it'll affect on-prem also, like Phone Edition's use on-prem. Any thoughts there, Michael, in terms of what enterprises should look for on-prem, and specifically, why not just stick with TLS 1.1 or 1.0?
Yeah, and I think we covered this pretty in depth in our other session talking about 1.1 and 1.0 being removed. But yeah, there's that whole PCI compliance that if you're doing any kind of financial transactions, that standard goes into place, I think June 31st or July 31st. So it's actually happening before Microsoft's disabling it. So if you're an enterprise and you're dealing with financial transactions, you really need to look at your infrastructure and see, what things you can, or what services can be disabled to be using 1.0, 1.1, and what can you force to be using 1.2. So there might be some major projects on device refreshes and even third-party products like video conferencing units and some of these legacy units that have not been touched and have the dust on them but are still core to the business. They might not support the lockdown of these TLS versions.
Awesome. All right. Thanks everybody for joining in, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks.
Thanks. See you later.